Hello and welcome to What a Story. Today, I'd like to tell you about Ellie, a girl who discovered a mystery that has been haunting people in London since the 1960s. Eloise, or Ellie, Turner is dancing in her room when the story begins. She is a budding fashion designer who lives with her grandmother Peggy and has been grieving the death of her mother, who occasionally appears to Ellie in mirror reflections. Peggy shows Ellie a letter in which she announces her acceptance to a fashion school in London. Ellie is overjoyed, but Peggy warns her that there are bad men up there. Ellie arrives in London by train and is driven to her hotel room. Ellie gets off the cab at a shop and waits for the cab driver to leave so she can continue walking to her room. She arrives and meets her roommate Jocasta. Ellie goes out with Jocasta and her friends, and it's revealed that Ellie's mother committed suicide after battling mental illness. Ellie overhears Jocasta gossiping about her to the other girls in the bathroom. Ellie leaves the pub and walks back to her room, spotting an older man looking her way and smirking. While Ellie tries to sleep, Jocasta brings a guy back to her room to hook up with. She steps outside and discovers a party going on. A young man named John is the only student who has befriended her. Ellie wakes up late the next morning and dashes to class, arriving on time for attendance. Ellie decides to get her own place for peace of mind. She finds a room in the home of a lady named Ms. Collins. She establishes ground rules for Ellie and allows her to stay in the upstairs bedroom. Ellie likes the place and spends the night there, sleeping completely under the covers. When Ellie gets out of bed, she is transported to the 1960s. She enters Café de Paris and sees her reflection as another young woman named Sandy. Ellie follows Sandy as if she is there to witness everything. Sandy wants to be a singer at the venue, but she gets unwanted attention from a grumpy customer. She is instructed to talk to a man named Jack about becoming a singer. Sandy meets Jack and is charmed by him. When the patron makes rude remarks, he begins to leave with her. Jack punches him in the face and flees with Sandy, kissing her in a phone booth, as is also seen with Ellie. Ellie continues on her journey and comes across Sandy in her bed, but when she tries to touch her, she awakens in the present. Ellie is inspired to create a design at school after seeing what Sandy is wearing. Ellie's neck has a hickey from where Jack kissed her or Sandy, according to Jocasta. Ellie goes back to sleep later that night, hoping to wake up in the 60s again. She discovers herself as Sandy and Jack become closer, and he brings Sandy to meet the owner of a different venue, the Rialto, so that she can perform the song, Downtown, for him. Men comment on her ability to sing. Ellie dyes her hair blonde like Sandy's and works on her dress design, which her teacher seems to like, while Jocasta mocks her out of spite. Ellie later sees the current-day version of the venue where she saw Sandy perform. She then goes to a bar to look for work. As she walks back to her room, the old man who saw her the night before follows her and claims to recognize her because of her hair, but he insists he is not looking for her. Ellie returns to the Rialto and finds Sandy performing as part of a group of skimpy-dressed women dancing as backup for a woman dressed as a marionette. Ellie observes Jack becoming more abusive as she follows Sandy around, telling her that she must please certain men if she wants to make it in the music business. Ellie notices Sandy in the bedroom as a lecherous man approaches her, his pants undone. Ellie yells at the man not to touch Sandy, and he appears to hear her, but Ellie awakens. So, what do you think? Is Ellie haunted by Sandy, or does she, like her mother, suffer from schizophrenia? Wait until the end for a surprising twist you did not see coming. Ellie rips up the pink dress design she drew in class as a result of the experience. Ellie continues to work and attend school. Sandy is becoming more jaded and unhappy as a result of Jack forcing her into prostitution and forcing her to service a barrage of horrible men, and she develops a drug and alcohol problem. She goes by aliases such as Alex, Lexi, and Anna. Only one man does not exploit her and is polite and charming to her. Ellie tries to get Sandy's attention through the mirror while she talks down about herself. She smashes through the glass and grabs Sandy, but she awakens. When John notices Ellie is acting strangely, he invites her to a Halloween party. Jocasta and her friends come across them and offer them drinks. They all start dancing. But in the middle of it, Ellie has hallucinations of the men who took advantage of Sandy, as well as Sandy dancing alone. When John notices Ellie is in poor health, he takes her home. They begin to kiss and go to her room for sex. But Ellie looks up and notices Jack attacking Sandy in the ceiling mirror. Ellie begins to yell at him to get off her. She then sees Jack stabbing Sandy to death. Ms. Collins hears the noise and orders John to leave because one of her rules is that no male visitors are allowed. She simply instructs Ellie to go to bed. Ellie apologizes to Ms. Collins the next day for what happened. She asks if anyone died in her room, but Ms. Collins is skeptical. Ellie returned to the fashion school, and while fixing a dress, a bloody Sandy appeared. Ellie later goes to the library to look up murders from the 1960s. She begins to see ghost men following her around the library. Almost stabbing Jocasta in the face with a pair of scissors. While Ellie flees in fear, John chases after Jocasta to explain the situation. She rushes to the police station to report the murder, now convinced that the old man is Jack and that he got away with murdering Sandy, but the detectives are aware that she has little to go on. Ellie arrives late for work and discovers that the old man is expecting her. She pulls out her phone to record a confession from him, but when she mentions Sandy, the man says, Alex killed Sandy, and that whatever happened to her was her fault. Ellie chases after the man, but he is killed by a car on the street. Ellie's boss instructs someone to dial 911 and identify himself as a former cop named Lindsay. Ellie recognizes the man as the gentleman who was polite to her and did not sleep with her. Ellie returns home and plans a visit with her grandmother. Ms. Collins provides Ellie with tea and her mail. One letter is addressed to Ms. Collins, revealing her name to be Alexandra, which Sandy told Jack was her nickname. Ms. Collins reveals who died in Ellie's room, herself. Sandy was her name. After enduring so much abuse, she chose to end her life as Sandy by stabbing Jack to death. She later avenged herself by murdering all of the men who had abused her. Ms. Collins then reveals that she poisoned Ellie's tea and will make it appear as if she committed suicide. John then comes looking for Ellie, who has recovered enough strength to warn him to flee. Ms. Collins stabs him as Ellie attempts to flee upstairs after seeing the younger Sandy attack her. A fire breaks out and spreads downstairs. Ellie shuts herself away in her room, where the spirits of Sandy's victims break through the floors and walls, pleading with her to murder Ms. Collins. When she finally breaks in, she sees her reflection as Sandy and realizes she has turned into a monster just like the men who have hurt her. She attempts to slit her throat, but Ellie intervenes and attempts to help her. Ms. Collins chooses to remain in the fire and die while letting Ellie go. As medics arrive, Ellie gets John out of there, and Ms. Collins lets the flames consume her. Ellie later exhibits her work in a fashion show, with Peggy and John cheering her on along with the rest of the audience. Her teacher and the other girls congratulate her, though Jocasta remains to be a mean bitch, and she sees her mother's reflection smiling at her. Ellie notices Sandy's reflection in the mirror waving at her as Peggy and John arrive to congratulate her. Did you guess the story's ending? If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe. Thank you, and see you next time.